Earlier this week, we showed you some right-wing media doing what they do, that is denigrating student activism, in particular, hunger strikes that have been used to try to push Democratic leaders in the right direction recently on the most important issues. And we talked about those hunger strikes. Well, right now, we're very lucky to be joined on the Damage Report by two individuals engaged in an active hunger strike right now. Adrien Horton and Brandon Ortega, welcome to the Damage Report.
Thank you for having us.
Very, very excited to find out about what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish. So right now you're in Washington, D.C., correct?
That is correct.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what you're hoping the current hunger strike will accomplish and how long you've been engaged in it?
Right, so today is day 8 of our hunger strike for democracy. This is actually our second hunger strike that we did. So our first one launched on December 6th of last year. We launched that in Phoenix, Arizona at the Arizona State Capitol. And we actually moved that hunger strike to Washington, D.C. After Biden had his International Democracy Summit. And we thought that that was hypocritical. And we knew that this vote would be coming up. So again, this is our second. We terminated the first hunger strike when Chuck Schumer announced the legislative pivot from Build Back Better to voting rights. And we know that we were a large factor in doing that. So he promised us a vote on or before MLK Day. And we promised that we would escalate once again if he didn't follow through on that promise. And so that is what we did this week. We launched on the 13th of January this year. So I think that's day 8. It's hard to get my days right. So this is the second one. We knew that we had to apply maximum pressure before the vote. And we now know that the vote happened last night and that vote failed. So actually in response to that, we, again, as promised, escalated again, and dozens of young people were arrested outside the Senate, outside the Capitol this morning and also on Tuesday.
Yeah, I believe we got some sort of breaking news right beforehand, seeming to indicate that Representative Jamal Bowman might have been arrested as well. Is that true?
That's correct. He was with us. We were actually outside the Senate steps with him last night as well, while the debates were happening and while the vote was happening. And he joined us in solidarity. Again, dozens of young people peacefully protesting and were arrested today alongside him. And we also had different executive directors of nonprofits, lawyers who helped write this legislation. So we are really united, as well as our generation being united in this fight. We have a lot of solidarity as well.
Yeah. Well, it's good to finally have at least a handful of elected officials who might actually be on the right side of this. So unfortunately, as you alluded to last night, we found out that some are they're going to do literally anything to maintain the filibuster. They don't care what the cost is in terms of legislation lost, democracy destroyed and all that. Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin voting against it. I'm curious if we could just backtrack to when you got the assurance from Chuck Schumer that there would be a vote. How hopeful were you? Did you feel like maybe we could get through to a few of those and flip them to see reason?
So we were hopeful, but unfortunately, we know what we're up against with this Senate. We know that we have a dysfunctional political system. So, kind of one of those situations where hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And so even after he promised us that, we were prepared to escalate again if needed, and that was what was needed. So at that time, we were very grateful, which is why we suspended our first hunger strike, but we knew that it would most likely come down to this again.
Okay. Hey guys, it's Francesca here. I'm still on. First of all, just kudos and hats off and thank you for providing leadership that we so desperately need in this country, especially when it comes to taking action. I wanted to ask you, you guys are from Arizona, and we've always talked about how Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin aren't the only senators who have been, sort of iffy and wishy-washy on lifting the filibuster in order to get voting rights passed. But just this week, you saw Senator Mark Kelly say that he was in favor of actually doing just that. What's your response? Do you feel like you all had you been also sort of pressuring Mark Kelly as well?
Yes, well, I'm from Arizona. I'm a junior at ASU. And of course, since our last hunger strike, we were able to meet with both Senator Kelly and Senator Sinema, and Senator Kelly has been supportive, and unfortunately, there have been many senators that have failed us today and last night. There was about around 50 people in total who have joined our hunger strike for about a cumulative of 20 days. And we as constituents, we have gone far and beyond, not only with this hunger strike, but risking arrest. And so we are here doing our part. We've done our part. We've done more than our part. And our senators, unfortunately, aren't meeting their responsibilities and representing us as their constituents.
Yeah. Brandon, I know that you've gotten to speak to Senator Sinema. We've been following her for a long time on this topic, and we know that she's gone back on a lot of the promises she's made, but also she seems occasionally to sort of go out of her way to visually, or in terms of her communication, insult her constituents with the thumbs down that's very famous at this point, running away from protesters, condescending comments even last night as she was leading the floor of the Senate. So when you've spoken to her, what have those conversations been like? Do you feel like she is hearing you? Is she seriously engaging? Do you get the feel that what she says about the filibuster is authentic, or what sense did you get?
I mean, we've spoken to her several times, and she's told me face to face that one of her biggest heroes were John Lewis and John McCain, and they were huge champions for voting rights and campaign finance. The choice is very clear, and unfortunately, she is not representing her constituents. She is not representing 84% of Arizonans from across the political spectrum. This is not a partisan issue in Arizona or in any other state. And unfortunately, the partisan divide that is in the Senate is not representing us as Americans.
There have been some talk, about for the senators who are gonna oppose reforming the filibuster, that they're likely to face a primary challenge. What's the sense that you get specifically in Arizona? Does that seem likely? Do you feel like people are ready for that? And any sense that that's something that she would actually worry about?
I mean, history is watching, the world is watching, Arizonans are watching, and we will remember this. And of course, I feel huge disappointment. And we did a hunger strike this is our second one on day 8. And I watched my friends get arrested on Tuesday and today. And unfortunately, that was hard for me as a person of color who has had very traumatic experiences with the justice system. Again, we have gone far and beyond, and we were hoping that they would at least meet the basic responsibility of representing us. And so Arizonans will remember this.
Right. Can I just jump in and ask you guys how it's been to be arrested or watch people who you work with arrested in DC? This is the site of January 6th, where thousands of Trump supporters were not arrested for hours and hours and hours and hours. Here you guys are on hunger strike for voting rights. Did you cross a barricade? Was there I'm assuming it was a nonviolent protest. Just your reactions on the different ways that the justice system and the police respond depending on who's protesting.
Yeah, I can take this question. It was very, very difficult. So the charge that they were arrested for it's called incommoding, which is basically refusal to move or refusal to leave. And so we just walked right up to the steps and sat down. We were singing, holding signs, singing about our freedom and the freedom to vote. And I had to watch people that I really care about who have already been starving themselves get arrested. Specifically, we had one of the students. So I'm a national manager, and one of the students is 16, and I was the one live streaming the event. And I saw that her mom actually hopped on the live stream. And I knew that I was the connection of this woman from Utah, watching her daughter, 16-year-old daughter, get arrested in DC. And I was really heartbroken and sad that, it's just like, what else can we do? Like, as young people, we don't have a lot of money, we don't have a lot of power, and we go to these lengths to just show that we are willing to do whatever it takes. And we just wanted the senators to do whatever it takes to get this done. We shouldn't have to hunger strike. We shouldn't have to knock on 70,000 doors in West Virginia. We shouldn't have to do all of these things just for something as fundamental as voting rights. And it's extremely infuriating and frustrating. However, these fights are long, and we will be back. It's terrible because problems like climate change and student debt, we don't have 10 years to wait for this type of legislation. It needs to happen now. And so, yeah, I'm extremely frustrated and saddened by last night's vote, but we'll be back and we're gonna win this. And we built infrastructure to prepare us for the big win that is coming.
I certainly hope so. Yeah, I understand that, the feeling of helplessness when you're doing literally anything that you can think of after doing everything that you've been told that you're supposed to do in multiple election cycles of youth turnout and organization and activism and engagement. Certainly can be frustrating. So my last question to you is, do you have any immediate next steps? I mean, you're still engaged in this. Where do you see it going? And in theory, if anybody's watching and they want to help, is there anything they can do to support what's going on?
Right. So today, we did terminate the hunger strike with our escalation and getting arrested today. And so, we don't just do things just for the sake of doing them. We are extremely strategic. And so now it is time to regroup and reassess on what the next steps are. I would say how you can support would be following us on social media. That's where all of our next steps and updates will be posted. So our Twitter handle, it's Let's Unpack. And our Instagram is unpacked with UN_PAC. You can also go to our website, unpack.org, and donate there as well financially. But I just really want to get across to all of your viewers that this is not a partisan issue. This is something that we can really truly all unite under, because this is what it means to be an American and to live in a democracy. This is not an issue about the left versus the right, but this is an issue of a battle between the top versus the bottom, and the will of the people will be heard.
I hope so. Adrien and Braden, thank you for the work that you've been doing and for taking time out to join us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.